When people picture a traditional Dogtrot house, they often imagine a simple rural home with two enclosed sections connected by an open central breezeway and surrounded by a generous porch. Because the wraparound porch appears so naturally suited to the style, it is easy to assume that it is an essential part of the Dogtrot design. However, a closer look at the architectural concept reveals an important distinction. A Dogtrot house does not have to have a wraparound porch. The wraparound porch can be a beautiful, practical, and historically compatible addition, but it is not what defines a Dogtrot house. The defining characteristic is the arrangement of the enclosed living spaces around an open passage or breezeway. This central open space is what gives the house its distinctive form and helps explain its historical development. Understanding this distinction is especially important for homeowners who want to build a modern Dogtrot home. A wraparound porch can certainly enhance the design, but it is only one of many ways to interpret the relationship between the house and its outdoor environment. Depending on the climate, property size, budget, lifestyle, and architectural preferences, a Dogtrot home can work perfectly well with a front porch, side porch, screened porch, covered porch, or even a relatively minimal exterior. The absence of a wraparound porch does not automatically make a house less authentic. In fact, one of the strengths of the Dogtrot concept is its flexibility. The basic architectural principle can be preserved while the exterior details are adapted to contemporary needs. When people picture a traditional Dogtrot house, they often imagine a simple rural home with two enclosed sections connected by an open central breezeway and surrounded by a generous porch. Because the wraparound porch appears so naturally suited to the style, it is easy to assume that it is an essential part of the Dogtrot design. However, a closer look at the architectural concept reveals an important distinction. A Dogtrot house does not have to have a wraparound porch. The wraparound porch can be a beautiful, practical, and historically compatible addition, but it is not what defines a Dogtrot house. The defining characteristic is the arrangement of the enclosed living spaces around an open passage or breezeway. This central open space is what gives the house its distinctive form and helps explain its historical development. Understanding this distinction is especially important for homeowners who want to build a modern Dogtrot home. A wraparound porch can certainly enhance the design, but it is only one of many ways to interpret the relationship between the house and its outdoor environment. Depending on the climate, property size, budget, lifestyle, and architectural preferences, a Dogtrot home can work perfectly well with a front porch, side porch, screened porch, covered porch, or even a relatively minimal exterior. The absence of a wraparound porch does not automatically make a house less authentic. In fact, one of the strengths of the Dogtrot concept is its flexibility. The basic architectural principle can be preserved while the exterior details are adapted to contemporary needs.
If the porch is not essential, why does it appear so frequently in images and plans associated with Dogtrot homes? The answer has a lot to do with climate, tradition, and practicality. Historically, many Dogtrot homes were built in warm climates where shaded outdoor space was extremely useful. A porch could provide protection from direct sunlight while allowing residents to remain outdoors. It also created a comfortable transition between the enclosed rooms and the surrounding landscape. The wraparound configuration extended this benefit around multiple sides of the home. Instead of having shade only at the front entrance, residents could choose different sections of the porch depending on the time of day, wind direction, temperature, and desired activity. The porch also complemented the open breezeway. Both features emphasized airflow and outdoor living, rather than treating the house as a completely sealed structure. Over time, this combination became visually associated with the Dogtrot style. As a result, contemporary homeowners may assume that a wraparound porch is a requirement, when in reality it is better understood as a complementary architectural feature. One of the easiest alternatives to a wraparound porch is a traditional front porch. A front porch can provide a welcoming appearance associated with Southern architecture without extending around the entire house. This can be an excellent solution for homeowners working with a smaller budget or a more compact property. A front porch can still provide shade, outdoor seating, and a transition between the yard and the main entrance. It can also create a strong visual focal point without adding the construction and maintenance costs associated with a larger wraparound structure. For a modern Dogtrot house, a simple front porch can actually produce a very clean architectural composition. The two building sections and central breezeway remain visually dominant, while the porch provides a subtle secondary feature. This approach can be particularly effective when the homeowner wants the design to feel inspired by traditional architecture without appearing overly historic. A Dogtrot home does not necessarily need the same type of outdoor space on every side. Depending on the property's orientation, a side porch may offer greater benefits than a traditional front porch. For example, if the side of the house faces a beautiful garden or a particularly attractive landscape view, a covered side porch can create a natural outdoor retreat. It might contain a dining table, lounge chairs, or a small outdoor kitchen. Side porches can also respond more effectively to local weather conditions. If one side of the property receives harsh afternoon sunlight while another side captures prevailing breezes, the porch can be positioned where it provides the greatest comfort. This reinforces an important architectural principle. The best Dogtrot design should respond to the site rather than blindly follow a fixed template.
For homeowners in warm or humid regions, a screened porch can be a highly practical alternative to a completely open wraparound porch. A screened porch maintains much of the visual and environmental connection with the outdoors, while helping reduce insects and providing additional protection from weather. In a Dogtrot design, a screened porch can work especially well next to the breezeway. Together, the two spaces can create a series of semi-outdoor environments that provide varying levels of protection and privacy. The breezeway might remain completely open, while the screened porch provides a more enclosed outdoor room. This arrangement can be useful for families who want to spend significant time outdoors but need protection from mosquitoes, rain, or strong sunlight.
Homeowners who prefer contemporary architecture may not want a traditional porch with columns, railings, and decorative trim. In this case, a covered terrace can provide many of the same functional benefits while giving the Dogtrot a more modern appearance. A covered terrace can use large structural posts, minimalist details, concrete flooring, natural stone, or contemporary decking. The roof can be designed as a simple extension of the primary roof structure. This approach can preserve the fundamental Dogtrot arrangement while avoiding an overly traditional appearance. For example, two modern rectangular volumes can be separated by a large open breezeway and connected visually by a continuous roof. A covered terrace can extend from one volume toward the landscape without completely surrounding the structure. The result can feel contemporary while still being clearly influenced by the Dogtrot concept. Construction cost is an important consideration when deciding whether to build a wraparound porch. A large porch requires additional roofing, structural supports, foundations or footings, decking or flooring, railings where necessary, drainage, lighting, and maintenance. Although the cost varies significantly by material and location, expanding a porch around several sides of a house inevitably increases the amount of construction required. If the homeowner has a limited budget, it may make more sense to invest in the core architectural features first. For a Dogtrot home, those priorities might include the quality of the breezeway, insulation, windows, roof performance, structural durability, and efficient room layouts. A smaller porch can then be added where it provides the greatest benefit.
This approach often produces a more balanced house than spending a large portion of the budget on an oversized porch that is rarely used.
The size and layout of the property should also influence the decision. A wraparound porch is especially well suited to a spacious rural property where the house has plenty of room around it. On a small urban or suburban lot, however, a large porch may reduce usable yard space or create privacy issues. A more compact porch can preserve outdoor living opportunities without overwhelming the property. For example, a narrow front porch combined with an open breezeway may provide enough outdoor space for a small family. Alternatively, a single covered terrace facing the backyard could create a private outdoor retreat. There is no universal rule stating that every side of a Dogtrot house needs to be covered. Good design considers the relationship between the building and the land. If you decide not to build a wraparound porch, there are several ways to preserve the character of the Dogtrot. Start by emphasizing the central breezeway. Make it visually significant and comfortable enough to function as an outdoor room. Consider its width, ceiling height, roof structure, flooring, lighting, and relationship with the landscape. Then provide outdoor living space where it makes most sense. A covered front entry can establish a welcoming appearance. A side terrace can provide space for outdoor dining. A screened porch can create a protected retreat. A rear patio can connect the kitchen or living area with the garden. These spaces do not all need to be connected into one continuous porch. Instead, they can form a collection of outdoor rooms around the Dogtrot. This approach can actually make the home feel more diverse and purposeful.
Landscaping can also compensate for the absence of a wraparound porch. Trees can provide shade around the house. Pergolas can create partially covered outdoor spaces. Hedges can provide privacy. Gardens can create attractive views from the breezeway and interior rooms. A thoughtfully designed landscape can therefore become part of the home's climate and outdoor living strategy. This is particularly useful on larger properties where homeowners have space to establish mature trees and garden areas. The Dogtrot house should not be considered an isolated structure. Its relationship with the surrounding landscape is an important part of its character.
One of the biggest advantages of modern Dogtrot architecture is the ability to reinterpret historical ideas. There is a difference between preserving an architectural principle and copying every detail of an old building. The essential idea behind the Dogtrot is the separation of living volumes around an open central passage. That concept can remain intact even when the house has modern windows, contemporary materials, updated insulation, efficient mechanical systems, and a simplified porch design. This flexibility allows homeowners to create a house that feels appropriate for modern life while still respecting the architectural tradition that inspired it. A wraparound porch may be historically familiar, but it should not become a constraint that prevents the home from responding to contemporary needs. Authenticity in architecture is not necessarily determined by the number of traditional features included in a building. A Dogtrot house can feel authentic because of its proportions, organization, materials, relationship with the landscape, and interpretation of the central breezeway. A house with a wraparound porch can still feel poorly designed if the breezeway is too narrow, the building proportions are awkward, or the outdoor spaces do not respond to the site. Conversely, a simpler Dogtrot without a wraparound porch can feel highly successful if its basic architectural principles are clearly expressed. This is why homeowners should focus on design quality rather than checking off a list of historical features. The short answer is no. A Dogtrot house does not have to have a wraparound porch. The wraparound porch is a popular and highly compatible feature, but it is not the defining characteristic of the style. The central open breezeway and the arrangement of the enclosed sections are far more fundamental to the Dogtrot concept. A wraparound porch can provide shade, outdoor space, visual appeal, and a stronger connection with the landscape. For these reasons, it remains an excellent choice for many Dogtrot homes. However, homeowners should feel free to consider alternatives. A simple front porch, side porch, screened porch, covered terrace, pergola, rear patio, or even a carefully designed breezeway may provide all the outdoor space needed. The right choice depends on the climate, property, budget, lifestyle, and architectural vision. Ultimately, the goal should not be to force a Dogtrot house into a predetermined template. Instead, the goal should be to understand what makes the Dogtrot concept work, and then adapt those principles to the needs of the people who will live there. The most successful modern Dogtrot homes combine historical inspiration with thoughtful contemporary planning. They use the central breezeway to create openness and connection, while outdoor spaces are positioned where they provide the greatest practical value. If a wraparound porch supports those goals, it can be an outstanding addition. If it does not, there is no reason to include one simply because it is traditionally associated with the style. A well-designed Dogtrot house is ultimately defined by how its spaces work together. The breezeway, enclosed rooms, roof forms, outdoor areas, landscaping, and circulation should create a unified architectural experience. The porch is one possible part of that composition, not a requirement. For homeowners planning a Dogtrot house today, this flexibility is one of the style's greatest advantages. You can preserve the spirit of the traditional form while creating a home that fits your property, your climate, your budget, and your way of living. Whether that means a generous wraparound porch or a much simpler outdoor arrangement, the essential character of the Dogtrot can remain intact as long as the central architectural relationship between the two enclosed sections and the open breezeway remains clear.